What is up? I'm Harbor with Extra Credit Design Club, and this is part 5 of how to design a typeface series. Alright, so we are in part 5. We are officially done designing our basic alphabet. We've gone over all the tools that you're going to use to design the rest of the characters. So here in part 5, we are going to cover the numbers. Like I said, knowing Glyphs Mini as well as we do at this point, this is going to be more about the forms of each individual glyph and not so much the process of how to create them. So this video should cook along a bit quicker, and it'll be more of like a, design with me, watch me design type of video, as opposed to a tutorial on the tool set. For each number, I'm going to go over a few different options that you have and encourage you to make your own decisions as I make mine. That being said, let's jump right into it. All right here, so we have our numbers. 1 through 9. Where's my little 9? I don't know why it's not showing up. Not worried about it. Okay, we have our 0, and the first thing I'm going to do is add a component. I'm going to add the O, and you could call that and be done right there, should you choose. However, like I said, I'm going to hit you with a couple different options, decisions that you should at least consider as you are designing each of these numbers. So I'm going to go ahead and decompose this. One thing that people like to do is have the O be a different width than the 0. So maybe I make this wider, maybe I make it more narrow. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 50 pixels. I'm going to round things out, and maybe my O looks like that. Another option you have is adding perhaps, let's see, go back to my composed O, is perhaps a slash through your little O. So maybe I want to add something just like this, give myself a slashed O for my O. Maybe you don't like that option. One thing that I like to do, it just is kind of a quirky little thing, is with my ellipse tool, just add a little dot into the middle here. So I am going to, for the sake of alignment, decompose this O, just so I can better align this. I want this middle point. I'm off 6 pixels here. So just 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So, and then up and down, we are looking at, I'm off 15 pixels. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, so now I have a little centered dot on my O here, and I think for this typeface, that's what I'm going to go with. It's quirky, it's playful, it's different. It's so me. Moving on to the 1. First, I am going to add a component. I'm just going to add the capital I or lowercase l. Don't really matter. And then get my primitive tool. And just draw a little thing there. Let's see, where am I at? 73 pixels. I might, okay, 72. So that could be my 1 just like that. But a couple options you might consider is you might bring this out. How far do you want it out? You might drop it down. Do you want that dropped down? And in order to compensate, we gotta, give it a little bit more girth. Another thing you might do is you might decompose this 1 here. And you might bring this all the way. You might bring this point down, okay, and bring this all the way here and have, an ugly one. Drop this, a 1 that looks like this. Another thing I've seen that I think is kind of fun is a 1 like that. Just slash it off. Maybe you do a 1 with a half slash, kind of cutting corners. If you're cutting corners, I don't know. Nothing wrong with that in type design. Controversial topic, okay. So maybe you have a one that's like this, or maybe you have a one even with a little geek, something like that. So you got all kinds of options. I think for this one, just for kicks, I'm gonna go back to the original recipe, undoing all of these. Okay, I think that's gonna be my one. Super simple. For the two, we have a couple of different options. I am going to start off by adding in the capital S. And I think I'm going to flip it, or reverse it, because I want this larger bowl to start with. I'm going to decompose everything here. I'm going to select these bottom points and hold Option and delete, and I am left with something like this. I'm going to connect these points here. Okay. Now for the two, obviously we need the bottom bar here. We want to make it the correct height of 73, too much. 72 pixels there, 72, okay. So we got a couple options here. We could do something like this. Oh. With the two, and we could have it go, oh, that's heinously ugly. Let me just readjust this, bring those up, oh, bring those down. Okay, so we could have something like this, where we have this curve that changes its direction right here. Add a couple of points for our inflection, and we have our two there. However, that two is more of the style of a grotesque, not a geometric sans serif. And because we're geometric, I think I'm going to do something closer to this style of two. I'm going to just curve these points here, and I'm messing with the points not from the top of this two ever, just here on the sides, and just trying to go about, as always, just micro little small adjustments to make this end up working. Okay, I can see it's a bit thicker through here and thinner through there. I'm gonna get my measurement tool. Yeah, okay, 82, way too thick. So I can drop down this point. It's not quite giving me what I want. Maybe I need to check this measurement. Okay, 75, that's good. And I might need to, in this case, bring up this point. Okay, that seems to be working. Alright, that to me is a pretty good two. The last thing I want to do is make a decision about this portion here. For things like my A and my V, I have this point. And I think that this point right here on the two gives a good opportunity to repeat that. So, zooming in here, I am just going to get this point. I want to keep it along the same path, more or less. And I am going to join things up here. Zooming out, seeing how I look, give myself some breathing room. 20 and 20. Okay, and I can see here I'm going to need to drop that down a little. I'm going to need to bring this in slightly, or perhaps bring this out to any pixels there, 20 pixels there, 40 pixels, 1, 2, 3, 40 pixels down, selecting everything, rounding out the top, and then dropping this down to match. Okay, I don't really like that with the larger bowl there, so I'm going to need to adjust this to compensate. Maybe bring this out a hair. Okay, and I'm just kind of massaging these points until I get something that I am happy with. The point is to get a well-balanced 2. It doesn't look like it's fallen over to the left or right. And if you're zooming out here, it fits in with the whole typeface. I'm going to leave it at that. That is going to be our 2 for now. It gets the idea across. For the 3, I'm going to do the same thing. I am going to add in our capital S. I am going to decompose it. I'm going to delete this middle section here, holding Option and delete. And then I am just going to flip this. So I have a closed path here. And then I am going to copy and paste this top path. I'm going to, with this little box here, have this bottom point selected. That way when I flip it, it will transform along the bottom. And then I am just going to bring these points up to match. Boom, and they automatically connect. Awesome. And I am going to drop that down, and I am going to Option, delete. Oh, I want to do more than that. Okay, delete those points. And then finally reconnect them here. If I zoom out and preview, that is the top of my 3. I'm happy with it. I'm going to repeat the process here. So copy and paste, flip it this time along the top of the bounding box. Zoom in, make sure my points line up here. Awesome. They're connected. Get my points here. I'm going to delete and delete. With my pen tool, reconnect these nodes, preview it, and you can see I have an issue that has to do with my path directionality. So with everything selected, Shift Command R, correct path directions, and that is looking like it's getting there. I'm going to see this difference here is 14 pixels, so I think I'll move each of these up 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Then, as not to compromise the perfect geometry of my shape here, I'm going to have to move these up maybe 3, move these out 3 pixels each, and then do the same here. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, with them both selected. 1, 2, 3. I'm going to select everything here, and then I am going to make sure my fit curves is good. And there we have it, our 3 with one thing left to be changed. I want to bring in this part right here so we can have a nice thin connection right here. I think 20 points is a little too much, so I'm going to back these off. 5 and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, that to me looks a little bit better, and we have our 3. Now to get the 4, I am going to type an H here. So far, the 0, the 2, the 3, their width was dictated by the roundness of the curve. However, the 4 doesn't have any roundness. So what I'm going to do is copy and paste everything from the H. I'm going to drop down the crossbar and bring up this stem here. And that's a 4. It's kind of an ugly 4. So I'm going to hit you with a couple different options, things you might do for your 4. So one thing that you will see is this 4 having a tilted in arm, something like that. That's a good option. You might go even more extreme, bring it in here, bring it all the way, something like that, or even further, bringing it in, and then dropping down this right here. We're going to need to compensate, thicken that boy. And you might have something like that for your 4. You might also, right here with the crossbar, extend it out to balance things out. And then you'll notice little details such as right here, this is poking out. I need to bring that in. I should get my measurement tool. Okay, 73 pixels. That looks pretty good to me, not too heavy. And maybe I want to drop this bar down even further, see how that looks, try and balance out this negative space with this. Okay, yeah, 10 pixel drop works for me. And I am going to call that 4. Moving on, let's talk about the 5. For the 5, I think I am going to copy and paste this bottom part of the 3. Ooh. However, I'm going to need to bump this back up 10, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 15 pixels. Okay, so that it is even all the way around. I'm going to highlight it. I am going to fit my curve. It's looking good. And one thing I want to do, select all these points here, copy and paste those, and then flip them and bring them to complete this circle. So I want to connect these points, and I want to disconnect these points. Disconnect these points here, holding Option and Delete, and then I want to drag them in place. Zooming in real close so I can make sure I'm aligned here. Oh yeah, we're making that grid show up how close we get in. And align them. They won't automatically connect if both points are selected, but if you just click them, they will. And now we can preview that. Okay, we have that circle. I'm gonna get my knife tool. Just cut this ring right here. And pretend I'm going through the inside, okay. Delete that. And then I am going to, you know what? I want a 5 that goes whoosh, whoosh. And I am going to create that. Okay, 72. That looks good. Another box here. Drop it down more or less like that. Make sure right now I'm 67 pixels or 65. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 10. Selecting that, moving it into place here. And then one thing I want to have happen is I want this curved part of my 5 to intersect with the straight part, so right here. But before I do that, I want to make sure that I'm happy with how things are curving. I'm happy with how things are shaped. But as I'm looking at it, I'm like, ooh, the circle for this 5, way too small. I don't like how small that is. I'm going to bump up that size. So, zooming in, I am going to, I think, delete this and delete these points as well. So I only have to work with half a circle. And I'm going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'm going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And I am going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Select everything, fit my curve. Okay, that's looking good. And now I am going to do the same process. Copy and paste, flip it, make sure my points are connected here. Okay, and that to me is a much better 5. Get my knife tool again, cut into it here. So I have an open 5, and then I'll go about adjusting this top part. Moving it over. Okay, yeah, something like that. That to me is looking like a much more balanced 5. So remember this tool, I'm going to select these 2 points, and I am going to open the corners. Now I can adjust and make sure that these things are connecting exactly how they should be. I can move these points up. Okay, gotta give it a little more. Drop that down again. Okay. That to me is looking good. See how it looks in a larger context? Okay, I might want to give that a little bit of an adjustment there. Okay. I'm calling that good. I'm going to close back up these corners by selecting them. Control click, make corner. Same thing here, make corner. And then I have a bit of a wonkiness here. I'm just going to make sure those are connected exactly. Awesome. And one thing to note, finally, with the 5 is that if this bar is straight, sometimes it can look a bit heavy on the top left, look like it's maybe about to fall over backwards like that. So I'm just going to select this point here, move it over. Okay, that to me looks balanced. I'm going to get this as close as I can to flush with this angle. Then I'm going to just select these 2 points, move them up. I am going to go up to Glyph. I am going to remove the overlap, or Command Shift O, and then I'll just delete this unnecessary point and move it back into place. And I'm happy with that 5. Moving on to the 6, I think I'm going to use the same bowl that I use in the 5 here. So I'm going to delete that section, copy and paste it, flip it, drag it into place, click these connecting points to make sure. Oh, if clicking doesn't work, you can always just click the point arrow up and then back down and it will connect. Okay, so we have our connecting points, our circle for our 6, and what I'm going to do is I might be able to, do a 6 like this with this loop action going on, but because of the angularity of the 4, things like that, 2 being to a point, I think I am going to go about it a little bit of a different way. I'm going to create something like this. Zooming in. Whoa. Just widen this enough to match up with these points. Okay, looks good to me. Looks good there. I could do that if I want to get real stylistic, but I don't. And I'm just going to move this over. And you can see I got problems here. Instead of matching up with these points, I gotta bring this up somewhere to be more like this. Okay, that to me looks smooth. Zoom out, and I think I'm a bit thin through here. So I'm gonna get my tool, 68 points, rather thin. Just arrow this out, boom, 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 measure it again. Now I'm working with 76. That to me looks good, and I am going to call that a 6. Awesome. For the 9, you guessed it. I just simply add component. I'm going to search here for 6. You have to type out 6. If you just hit 6, nothing is going to show up. 6. And then add the 6 component. Simply flip it, whoop, whoop, and then make sure I am aligned correctly on my baseline. And that is looking good as a 9 as well. Now moving on to the 7, double clicking in here, I'm going to add the component of the 1. Super simple. Decompose. And decompose again, and I am going to add a bit of length to that, and then drag this over just to match. I think I want it even a bit wider, something like that, maybe just kind of echoing this angle here. Okay, and then I'm going to need to give some girth to this stroke. I'm looking like 79. A little too exciting. Back it off just a hair. What am I looking like there? Okay, that looks good to me. I'm going to say that that is my 7. A on both side bearings, minimal space. And finally, for the 8, I could copy and paste the circle here from the 6, or I could do it from the 3. I think I'm going to use the 3. So I'll copy the points of that, add them into the 8, and then what I'm going to do is, with these points selected, Option delete, and then delete, I'll Option delete this connecting path between these 2 points, and I'll just copy and paste, and then flip the 8. Okay, making sure all of these points down here connect. Okay, connected. Just selecting them, hitting arrow up and down if they don't connect automatically. And I'm going to repeat the process here. Copy and paste. This time flip it along the bottom of its bounding box. And then select each one of these. Okay, I'm connected there. Make that connect. Oh, I don't have a connection there. And then that is connected. Make sure all these are aligned. They are not. Okay, line them all up. And then, as always, I think I did 15 points in for the 3, so I'm going to echo that here. Go 1, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Go 10, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Selecting everything, fitting the curves, and that, to me, is looking rather good for the 8. One option that you might have with the 8 is just making the top slightly shorter than the bottom bowl. So, doing that, I'll bump that up, bump that out, bump that out, select everything, fit curves again, and now we have an 8 where the bottom bowl is slightly larger than the top. It's a stylistic choice that you can make, you know, how extreme you want that to be. My advice would be, if you do it to the 8, also do it to the 3. Or alternatively, if you don't want to worry about that, I'm going to come back to the 3 just to get wild with you for a sec. I'm going to take my 5, copy that, paste that here, and you might, for your 3, want a style that is more like this. You know where I'm going with this 3. It might be more appropriate with this pointed edge here, you know, echoing things like the 7, the A, the 2. I'll bring that back up, or perhaps I'll use the bowl from the 5 as well. You know, consistency with our bowl sizes here. Copy that in, paste that into the 3. I'm going to have to use my knife tool here, cut that along there, and I might have a 3 that is something, wrong tool, something more akin to my 5, should I choose to do so. Let's just make these points match up a little bit cleaner. Okay. Awesome. Maybe I even want to go one step further with the cleanliness, which is always a good idea in type design. And make these just perfect in their alignment. Something like that. Okay, so you might take that option for the 3 as well. And now that you have all of your letters designed, all of your numbers designed, it's a good point to just look at this and say, wow, I am the best type designer in the world. And if I'm not, I will be one day. Also, a good moment to reflect on how your numbers are working together, how your numbers work with your letters. I'm going to wait till the end of this series to kind of talk about the refining and making sure everything is as harmonious as possible. But for now, I can see things I don't like. I think that this top of the two, the bowl is too big and wide. I'm not sure this 4 is the correct choice. Seems like it would be more at home in a serif typeface. Looking at it again, I think that this lowercase z is too wide compared to the uppercase, and you know, every time I complete a different set of characters, I take a moment and see now in the context of the larger picture how things are working out. But there you have it. That is part 5. In the next section, we'll go over punctuation, much in the same manner as we did here. I'm going to be designing, hitting you with different options, things that you might consider when designing punctuation. And that's it. As always, I'm Harbor from Extra Credit Design Club. If there's anything I am missing here or anything you want to know further about type design, put it in the comments of the video and I will get to addressing it.